Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review of the 2025 found footage horror film, The Hem. The film is written and directed by Tyler Russell, and it stars Judd Lamond. We have George Hardy, Jenny Robbins, Terry Merritt Bennett, Torrin Davis, and Rani Alwade. Now, the film focuses on a group of documentary makers who want to investigate a so-called haunted church that is on the verge of collapse and is going to be kind of knocked down in the near future. They proceed to interview the locals. Many of them will have nothing to do with discussing this church because of its dark past. And they make a deal with a local who can get them inside the church for a brief period of time, but insists that they have to be out by dark. As you can imagine, this doesn't go to plan, and they descend into a night of terror, fear, and their lives in grave danger. Right, what are my thoughts on The Hem? Well, another found footage film, a new one, guys. This one is actually due to be released at some point in October. The producers of this reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in seeing a sneaky early screener of the film. And that's absolutely I would. As you guys all know, huge fan of found footage. So I was definitely up for checking this one out. Now, I had no idea what kind of quality this was going to be. I'm just really keen to see any kind of new kind of found footage, to see what we can expect from any new found footage. And I'm pleased to tell you guys that while this doesn't exactly revolutionize the subgenre of found footage or do anything new or original, it's actually a very, very competent found footage film that really does ramp up some scares. Now, I think what I liked about this is, well, a few things, but I liked the setup for this film. This documentary crew wandering around town, interviewing the locals. They all felt like real people. The people that they were interviewing, they actually, felt like they were talking to people that actually lived there. They may well have done, for all I know. They didn't feel like actors at all. It reminded me of Blair Witch Project, when they're interviewing the locals at the beginning of that one. So I loved that. I loved the start of the film. It was kind of building up the aura of this church, the fact that it's got this really dark reputation, and some of the locals won't even talk about it. I'll have nothing to do with it. So it really does kind of build it up. Now, and then when they get to the church, they've got this dodgy guy, basically letting them in, but basically saying, right, okay, we've got to be out by dark. There's no debating it. That's what's happening, basically. And then of course, that ain't happening. It all goes terribly wrong from that point on, and I'm not going to spoil what happens and what have you, but what happens is fairly standard found footage stuff, but still effective nonetheless. I thought the characters that we were introduced here all felt like real people, and this is like the documentary crew now. They had the right reactions to genuinely frightening situations. I think sometimes in found footage, especially lower budget found footage, it's almost like the actors know what's coming, so it doesn't feel genuine, their reactions to it. And again, I don't know if that's the case with this one, but it felt like they didn't necessarily know what's coming at times, because some of their reactions felt very, very genuine to me. And you can always tell when there's some real fear going on. You could just tell by the way they're breathing while they're filming, sort of thing. And there's genuine fear and panic going on, gasping for breath, and that sense of real fear going on. That is golden for found footage as far as I'm concerned, and it just draws you in as an audience member. And this thing, I think, does a really good job of it. You get delves into really spooky stuff. Yes, it's reminiscent of things like Grave Encounters. I know that's an asylum that they go in, and this is a church. It's a different setting, but they're very, very similar in that sense. But there's definitely some creepy stuff going on here. There's all these wedding dresses. There's supposedly a woman that haunts the place that used to make wedding dresses, and there's this room with all these dresses in, and it just gets very creepy. There's something creepy about that, and the film knows it and taps into it. And then some stuff when it starts happening, it ramps it up very quickly, and the danger that these individuals are in ramps up very, very quickly. Now, my major criticism of this is it's almost a two-parter. So you've got this documentary crew that goes in, and then you've got these two police officers that end up eventually going in after them to find out where they are and what's gone on. And even though there are some fairly cool moments when these police officers are in there, the one in particular, it almost felt tacked on. It didn't feel. Number one, I was kind of like, well, where's this come from? How has this come about? With these police officers. And number two, like I say, it just felt a little bit tacked on as far as I'm concerned. And I would have preferred to have seen more of the original team going in, maybe expanding on the team by a couple of members and kind of, increasing the scares that way rather than sending in these two police officers that I don't feel was authentic to the rest of the film. It felt like it was an addition or something tacked on. Or an idea for a sequel that they couldn't develop, so they just kind of popped it on the end of this one. I don't know, I'm probably stretching and reaching there, but it just felt like it wasn't part of the rest of the film for the most part. So yeah, I actually thought this was genuinely a very, very solid found footage film. It's made very, very well. The actors are got convincing performances. There are some fun scares that go on in it, and it follows the blueprint pretty closely for fans of found footage. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Hem. Check it out if you get the opportunity, and I will of course be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.